Okay, hello class. Welcome to English class today. I hope you're doing well. Looks like we only have 2 people here, so anyway, we'll get started and see if some other people join. Alrighty, so anyway, on my screen here you can see I have an idiomatic expression. It says, every cloud has a silver lining. So, does anyone have a guess at what this phrase means? So what do you think this expression means? Any guesses? Aaron, what do you think? No? Okay, how about you, Chloe? What do you think this expression means?
I don't know.
You don't know? How about take a guess? Any wild guess? Okay, go ahead, Cyrus.
A group of words that work together in a sentence but does not contain a subject or a verb.
Okay, so you have given me a definition of what an expression is, but what does this phrase mean? And I like that you gave me a definition. What do you think this expression means? See, like, if someone told you this. No? Okay, well, it looks like this is a little bit difficult, but this actually means that it's something that you'd say to comfort someone, like if they're in a sad or like stressful situation, but it kind of means basically that there may be a positive outcome, although it's not clear or obvious right now. So like, in other words, there is always some good even in bad situations. And if you were wondering, its origin came from a poem that was like from 1634. Okay, that like the first time it appeared in literature, and it's been used since. Okay, so that's interesting. And the reason I've included this is because we are talking about weather forecasting. So, and the article we're reading today is about Cleveland Abe, who actually was an American meteorologist who was responsible for creating the foundation of weather forecasting. And we'll take a look at what motivated him to study the weather and how we continue to benefit from his work today. Ready? So let's get to our article. Alrighty, so who would like to read this first paragraph? Anybody?
I could.
Okay, go ahead, Cyrus.
Did you know that the National Weather Service gathers data from across the country to help create local weather report every day? In fact, its online national map refreshes itself every 5 minutes to offer updates, watches, warnings, and advices. Cleveland, Abbe would be so proud. Abbe was born in New York City on December 1838. In the summers, he worked on his grandfather's farm outside Wenham, Connecticut, fascinated by
Fascinated.
nature.
Hmm.
He learned how important the weather could be on the farm. Heavy rains might delay planting or down plants before they could be harvested. Storms could knock crops flat.
Alrighty, thank you, Cyrus. So here we are starting the article with a little question of asking the reader if they've heard of this before, the National Weather Service. So we are given the information that they actually gather data from all across the country. By the way, this is from the American perspective, like from the US. So they use all the information to create local weather reports every day, and it's saying how it kind of refreshes itself every 5 minutes. How if you actually go on it, you'll see up to date live reports. And because this is like with our with our technology nowadays, how with this kind of advanced technology, since Cleveland Abe actually created the foundations of weather forecasting, this says he would be so proud because his work actually helped us get to that. Okay, so and it explains how he was born on December 3rd, 1838, and he worked on his grandfather's farm outside this place, Windham, Connecticut. And since he was fascinated by nature, or he was really odd, he found it very interesting. He learned how important the weather could be, such as if it rained, it could affect how the plants grew, or if different kind of weather patterns happened that could also affect the crops there. So he was since he was living on the farm and working there, that got him interested in weather patterns and things like that. Okay, so let's continue. Chloe, would you like to continue reading over here?
After studying science and mathematics, Abbe became a teacher. While teaching at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, he also studied astronomy. In 1868, he was hired as a director of Ohio's Synod Observatory. Abbe
Observatory, sorry. Observatory.
Observatory.
Mm-hmm.
Abbe knew that atmospheric conditions such as cloud, haze, fog, rain affect astronomical observations. He became fascinated with studying weather in other places to predict what the weather would be like. But how would he get data he needed? Abbe proposed setting up a network of weather observers around Cincinnati.
Okay, thank you, Chloe. Alrighty, so here we are seeing how he's actually interested in science and math. And when he grew up, he actually became a teacher at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, and he studied astronomy. So he's looking at like sky, like not the sky. He's looking at space, anything like space related. Okay. In 1868, he was hired as the director of Ohio's Cincinnati Observatory. Okay, so he's like the person in charge of this observatory here. And he knew that these atmospheric conditions, like clouds, haze, fog, things like that, could affect studying weather, and he actually became interested as well as he became interested in what the weather would be like based on those kind of observations. Like when would it be foggy or hazy, or when would it rain, things like that. And so, to get that kind of data, he proposed setting up a network of these weather observers around Cincinnati. Okay, moving on. Since Aaron has some mic problems, we'll go back to Cyrus. Starting over here, please.
What do I do?
Over here. Can you read?
Abbe once wanted his observer to have the best equipment for carrying out their work.
Oh,
The
sorry.
bureau
Hang on. Sorry. I went to another part. Okay, sorry. Okay, move on here.
The observers would record 8 different things from local barometric pressure and temperature to details about atmospheric conditions such as the wind, cloud, and rain or snowfall amount. They would send their data back telegraph to Abbe at a central office where we would coordinate the information to predict the weather for the next few days. His prediction could then be sent back to by telegraph to each weather station so they could share the result.
Mm-hmm. And Cyrus, can you tell me what the main idea of this paragraph is? So what's it
The weather,
saying? The main idea?
the weather,
Okay, so the weather, and what about it?
like to predict like what's gonna happen in the weather for the farm.
Okay, and how did he do that?
Uh, he recorded 8 different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So you saw it over here. There's your evidence. Okay, so the observers record these 8 different things like local barometric pressure, temperature, conditions like the wind, clouds, snowfall amounts, things like that. And then those observers would send that data by telegraph to Abbe, or to A, I think, and where he worked at the central office, and he'd work together all that information to predict the weather. Okay, so he's taking all that information and collecting it all and kind of using, I guess, I'm not too sure, but I'm inferring maybe he like use some sort of mathematical or scientific, uh, I don't know, I guess some sort of, well, anyway, he used all that information to predict what the weather was like, and those predictions could be then sent back to each weather station, like locally, so that they could broadcast that information. Okay, all right, moving on. Chloe, can you read over here, please?
Mr. Cincinnati Chamber of Commerce to give him money to set up of 20 observers and help get his weather to bulletin printed in the city's daily papers. The first official public forecast predicting weather for the Ohio River Valley over the next 2 days appeared September 22, 1869. The success of Abbe's local weather reports of probabilities helped him gain the attention of larger groups, including the U.S. government. Early in 1870, President Ulysses
Mm-hmm.
S. Grant signed a bill establishing the Weather Bureau, and Abbe became its chief meteorologist.
Meteorologist. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Chloe. All right, and Chloe, can you tell me what the main idea of those paragraphs were?
About how the forecast that he made.
Mm-hmm. And what about it? Give a bit more detail.
Like how it was like successful.
Okay, so how it was successful. So how so? How do you know that it was successful? For instance, what do you see in the text that actually says?
He said the success of Abby's local weather reports of probabilities.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. So since he was successful with his local weather reports, he actually got the attention of the US government, which is actually a very big thing. So back then, the president, Ulysses S. Grant, signed a bill which actually made him the chief meteorologist, so the chief person who was in charge of all that weather predicting system. Okay, so originally part of the U.S. Army Signal Corps, the Bureau used observers in distant military stations around the country to gather data. Abe's first official national report was delivered on February 19, 1871. Okay, so this was actually originally part of the U.S. Army, which is interesting, and the Bureau used observers in distant military stations because, like, in the military, they have more advanced technology, and they use that to gather data. And his first report was delivered on newspaper in February 19, 1871. Okay. All right, Cyrus, your turn. You can continue here.
For the first 6 months, Abby was the only one who knew enough about meteorology to create forecasts. His skills earned him the nickname Old Probabilities. Abby worked hard to make each forecast consistent and precise.
Precise.
Every every report included information on temperatures, wind direction, barometric pressure, and current weather conditions, but Abbe couldn't do it all by himself, so he taught others to measure and predict the weather. By 1872, the Weather Bureau was sending out more than 500 daily weather bulletins for locations across the country. Abbe also wrote articles,
Articles.
articles,
Mhm.
did researches, and organized states weather service across the country. He even thought of dividing our country into four standard time zones to help coordinate weather observation.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, and okay, so that was a lot to take in. So first of all, in the first 6 months, Abe was the only one who knew enough about meteorology or the study of weather patterns to create forecasts. So think about it. If you're the only one who knows how to forecast something, that's pretty big, isn't it? So his skill actually earned him the nickname Old Probabilities. Okay, and he worked hard to make each forecast consistent and precise, which, for example, he included information like temperature, wind direction, barometric pressure, which, by the way, is relating to air pressure. So, like, if it's, I think air pressure is like related to, you know what, I'm actually not too sure what air pressure is related to. I'd have to search that up, but he included that and also, obviously, the current weather conditions. But since obviously weather happens everywhere, he couldn't do it all himself, so he taught others how to measure and predict the weather. Okay, so here on the side I have some pictures of these things. Here is a uh, barometer. You may have seen this before, like if your parents used them to test the air pressure inside like tires, like car tires or bike tires. This is a hygrometer, which is used to measure uh, the humidity in the air, so how humid it is. And this one here is a mechanical kind of device. It's called an anemometer that uh, that measures the speed of the wind. You can actually see it's kind of hollow. It's like a half sphere, and the wind can blow in it. So it kind of measures how fast the wind blows and makes it turn. Chloe says when you pump the air into tires using that thing. Yeah, exactly. So this tells you how much pressure you have or how much air pressure you have in your tires, right? So that's also kind of used for to predict the weather and things. And then let's see over here. By 1872, the Weather Bureau was sending out more than 500 daily weather bulletins for locations across the country. Okay, so that's a lot of progress here. He also wrote articles, did lots of research, he organized state weather services across the country. Obviously, you can see he worked very hard on making these weather reports and giving out information to the public. And he even thought of dividing the country into four standard time zones. So, since the United States is pretty big, you'd have um, it would be in, I'm thinking, for these four different time zones, and that helped him coordinate their weather observations. Okay. Okay, and last two paragraphs. I believe it, Chloe.
Abby wants his observers to have the best equipment for carrying out their work. The Bureau's instrument division tested thousands of barometers, anemometers, and hygrometers. Bureau scientists also designed and built many of their own instruments.
Mm-hmm. And Cyrus, can you read the last paragraph, please?
Which one was it?
Over here.
Despite failing health, Abbe was part of the U.S. Weather Bureau until his death on October 28, 1916, at the age of 77. His hard work established today's National Weather Service, renamed from the U.S. Weather Bureau in 1967, and built the foundation of modern meteorology.
Alrighty, thank you, Cyrus. And that concludes the article. So over here, going back here, Abe wanted his observers to have the best equipment. So he had thousands of barometers, anemometers, and hygrometers, the things that I just showed you, those pictures. And he also actually designed and built many of his own instruments. So he was kind of more like an entrepreneur, creating his own things, kind of working really hard to actually do all this work, right? And although because his health was not so great, he was part of the U.S. Weather Bureau until his death, actually. And he died October 28, 1916, at the age of 77. And all his hard work established today's National Weather Service. Okay, it was renamed from this to this. And that's how he built the foundations of modern meteorology. Any comments, questions here? If not, we'll get to some true or false questions or statements. Test your knowledge here. Alright, so first point. Cleveland Abe was fascinated by nature and weather, which led him to become the chief meteorologist of the Weather Bureau. True or false? Feel free to shout it out or type in the chat. So, is the statement true or false?
False.
Chloe says false. Okay, anyone else? Why do you think it's false, Chloe?
I don't think I heard it in the text.
The text did say something about this.
Oh, okay then.
Okay. You want me to go back? We can go back and take a look.
I say true.
Yeah, Cyrus says true. Okay, let me see. Okay, over here. Fascinated by nature, he learned how important the weather could be on the farm. Heavy rains might delay planting on drought light out. Okay, so he was fascinated by nature, so we can conclude that that part is true. What about the part that, okay, there's answers. How he became the chief meteorologist, that is true as well. So, I think it was somewhere over here. Here we go. Okay, so early in 1870, this president signed a bill establishing the Weather Bureau, and Abe became its chief meteorologist. Okay, so there is the answer there. So that would be true. Okay, how about the second point? Hopefully you didn't see. Abe invented time and equipment. Oh, sorry. Abe invested time in equipment but was not able to predict weather patterns. True or false? Aaron, what do you think? You can type in the chat. Anything? So basically, was Abe able to predict weather patterns? Yes or no?
What did you say again?
So true or false? Abe invested time in equipment but was not able to predict weather patterns. So is that true or false?
False.
False, yes. Easy peasy, right? Third point, he trained other people to predict the weather. Is this true or false?
True.
This is true. He did train other people because obviously he needed other people to help him gather all that data, right? And lastly, Abe's hard work led to the establishment of the Weather Bureau, which later became the National Climate Service.
True.
True? This is a little trick question.
I don't think National Climate Service he was.
Exactly. This is the National Weather Service. Okay, so that would be false. All right, let's take a look at some vocabulary. So as you can see here, they're mostly all related to weather devices that he uses. Dixon, would you like to read these out loud? No? Okay. Chloe, why don't you read these out loud?
Barometric, relating to the measure of air pressure. Telegraph, a method of sending / receiving messages by electric signals. Meteorology, the scientific study of the causes of weather conditions. Anemometer, a device that measures the speed / force of wind. Hygrometer, a device that measures humidity.
Humidity. So a device that measures how much water is in the air. Right. And going back to those pictures, here's, take a look. Barometer, measuring air pressure. Anemometer, measuring the speed of the wind. Hygrometer, measuring humidity. And telegraph, which is a very old device that was used to create and send messages. Okay. All right. Now I have a little competition / game for you. We're going to take all of the vocabulary you know about forecasts and weather and all that, and I want you to think about all that and type them as fast as you can into this Padlet. Okay, so I'll be setting you privately into these different groups here. And then within about 3 minutes, I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and you're going to type as many phrases, expressions, or words related to the weather. Okay. Okay, so once I sent you a link, you can click that and type as many words related to this as you can. And to add a post, you can just click this plus button and type here. Okay. Alrighty, your 3 minutes are starting now. Oh, okay, let me see if I... Okay, try that link, Chloe. Okay, so I want you to type as many words as you can, not just one. Okay. Okay, so that was actually more than 3 minutes, but looks like we don't have lots of ideas here. So at least we have water and sun. Okay, good start. I'll leave it at that. All right. Okay, so it looks like that wasn't all that great, but now let's move on to another activity. Okay, remember last time we did well, not last time, a few weeks ago we did a little dictation, and that was when I had you write down what I was reading, or like reading out loud. Okay, so if you have a piece of paper and a pencil nearby, go ahead and grab that, and I'll meet you back here in like 30 seconds. Alrighty, so if you're ready, raise your hand. Okay, so Cyrus is ready. Chloe is ready. And I believe that's all the people we have here. Alright, so we'll get started anyway. So for your title, I want you to put dust of snow. Okay, write that down. Okay, I'm going to start reading now. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Period. Okay, second time now. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Okay, last time now. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Alrighty, and you may have noticed that this text rhymes, and this is actually a poem written by Robert Frost in 1920. Okay, so compare your answer to the text on the screen here and take a look at your spelling, any grammatical issues, anything like that, and make sure to correct them so you know what you went wrong. Okay, So, the way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree has given my heart a change of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Can anybody guess what this word means? Rude. Or maybe, can anyone tell me what the overall, mood of the poem is? Is it happy, sad? What's the mood? Chloe, what do you think?
Maybe sad.
Okay, sad. And why do you think that?
The words.
The words. Okay. How about you, Cyrus? What do you think is the overall mood of this poem?
Mm,
Don't know. Okay, so what do you think? What do you see in this second stanza here?
Has given a mood.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Has given a mood.
Mm-hmm. And what about that mood?
Save some part of a day.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for those who don't know, I'm pretty sure all of you are a bit confused of what this word means. It actually means to remember something bitterly. So if there's a kind of memory or day that you despise or some sort of experience that you don't like, then you rude that memory or whatever it is. Okay, so over here it's describing how a crow shook down some snow on the speaker, okay, from this tree here. Like, think of a bird that's sitting on a tree and it's shaking down some snow off of it. And because of this, it's changed the mood of the speaker and actually made him feel a little better. So overall, the message actually is talking about how spending time outside can actually help lift your spirits. Like, if you're out in nature, then although you might have had a bad day, you might feel a little better if you spend some time outside. Okay, so that's the general idea of this poem. Right? Let's take a look. Okay. Next, we have a little discussion question here. So, when is the last time you watched the weather forecast? Did it influence your day in any way? For instance, what you decided to wear or where you decided to go? Okay, so again, kind of two-part question. So, when's the last time you watched the weather forecast and how does it affect you? Take some time to think about it. And okay, Chloe, any thoughts on this? So, do you ever check the weather forecast?
Yeah, I checked it this morning.
Mm-hmm. And how does that affect your day?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. How so? Not really.
What?
Like, say if you go to school, the weather doesn't really affect you in any way?
No.
No? Okay, so like no sports outside or anything like that?
No.
No, not really. Okay, how about you, Cyrus?
Authority.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Authority.
Oh, so what are your thoughts on this question? So, like, do you ever check the weather forecast?
Yeah.
Yes? And is there a reason, or do you just check it?
Like feeling if it's cold or not.
Mm-hmm. And how would that affect your day, or how would that affect you?
like maybe I'll go sick if it's too cold,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
maybe when it's a hot day and I'm wearing some kind of like big jacket or stuff because I didn't check the weather.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying checking the weather helps you better dress for
Yeah,
outside. Yeah. Okay. That's nice. For me, I guess I do check the weather more or less every day, since usually during the warmer days I bike to school. So if it's raining, obviously I don't want to get wet. So instead, I am drive to school. So that would affect me, for instance. But otherwise, kind of like Chloe, other than that, weather doesn't really affect me all that much, actually. Any other thoughts on this? Oh, okay. Well, now we'll take a look at a video. I think this is from the UK. This talks about how weather forecasts are made. So let's take a look.
The weather is one of the most powerful, important forces on Earth. But how do you know what the weather is going to be like so you can plan ahead? A lot can go wrong if you don't plan for the weather. While you're busy with your everyday life, a global network of gadgets scan and measure the atmosphere, collecting data from all over the world. Radar systems, weather balloons, ocean monitoring buoys, and lots of other cool instruments track changes to help predict the weather. Another vital ingredient is space. Way out in orbit, weather satellites are getting the big picture of atmospheric changes. These European weather satellites, METOP and Meteosat, give us the ability to see the weather before it reaches us. Orbiting the Earth 14 times a day, around 850 kilometres up, METOP keeps a close eye on temperature, humidity and winds. METOP's observations, along with all the other data, are fed into powerful supercomputers. These huge machines then crunch their way through millions of bits of data about current weather, oceans and atmosphere to forecast future weather. The process is called numerical weather prediction and is what scientists use to help us plan our lives. It's clever stuff. Individuals and entire countries can react when bad weather is on the way. Governments, pilots, farmers, fishermen and sailors, shop owners, tourists, building workers and even power stations all rely on accurate weather forecasts. Further out in space, at 36,000 kilometres, Meteosat stays over the same spot on Earth, keeping a 24-hour watch over Europe and Africa's weather. This type of satellite is essential for detecting the development of rapidly changing weather, such as storms or fog, helping meteorologists work out what is likely to happen in the next few hours. So many lives are affected in huge ways by the weather, and our ability to predict and plan for it. And everyone's life is affected in little ways every day. Weather forecasts enable us to plan to keep traffic moving, planes on schedule and on the safest path. And everyone's day, well, not always without a hitch. So remember that a whole host of satellites and other amazing weather technology are always at your fingertips whenever you have plans. So don't forget to check the weather.
Okay, so there is the video. Now you know that lots of people depend on weather forecasts, whether it's like planes or aircrafts, like predicting where storms are at so that they can, fly away from them, not actually going into a storm. Farmers, people, just like so many people depend on weather systems to go about with their daily lives and things like that. Any comments and questions over here? Was there anything that you found particularly interesting? No, nothing interesting. If not, we'll continue. Okay, so for our last activity, I've got a Kahoot for y'all, and we'll take a look at how well you remember the things we learned today. Okay, I'll be starting in 10 seconds. Okay, so Abe became interested in studying weather for all the reasons below except his work at the observatory, working on his grandfather's farm, his interest in the ocean and tides, or his interest in math and science. Okay, so the answer is this yellow one. He was not interested in ocean and tides. Oh no. Okay, next. Which of the following describes the end of Abe's career? First, he eventually stepped down from studying predicting the weather. He left the Weather Bureau to teach others how to forecast the weather. He focused solely on developing better technology for forecasting, or he continued to contribute to the Weather Bureau until he died. Okay, so this is actually the answer. He continued to contribute until he died. Okay. Okay, next, true or false? Atmospheric conditions such as clouds, haze, fog, and rain can affect astronomical observations. Okay, so this is actually true. Okay, Abe's weather predictions were popular with the public, not always accurate, seen as unreliable by the public, or difficult for people to understand. Okay, so the answer is actually popular with the public. The text didn't say anything about accuracy, so that would not be the correct answer. Since he was the only one who could predict the weather, it was popular with the public. And remember how it even got the attention of the president? So, yeah. Okay, moving on. Every weather report that Abe made included wind direction, temperature, barometric pressure, or sunset time. By the way, this has multiple correct answers. Okay, so the correct answers would be wind direction, temperature, and barometric pressure. The article never mentioned anything about sunset time. Okay, so that would not be correct. Okay, what is this used for? Okay, we'll see this picture. What is this used for? Alright, you are correct. It measures the speed of wind. Okay, next, Abe's weather forecasts appeared on television, magazines, daily newspapers, or radio. Okay, the answer is actually daily newspapers. Television was not invented at the time. I think. Yeah. True or false? Meteorology is the study of meteorites. This is false. Meteorology is the study of weather patterns and how they're created. Okay. Looks like Tin Cat's in the lead. Okay, next. Abe's hard work led to the establishment of the Weather Bureau, which later became the National Climate Service, the National Weather Forecasts, the National Weather Service, or the National Climate Forecasts. Actually, the correct answer is the National Weather Service. Okay, in second place we have Lee. And first place, we have Cyrus. Good job, Cyrus. Okay, give a great round of applause to Cyrus. And good effort to all of you. Alright, and that kind of concludes today's lesson. I hope you learned something new today, and hopefully you'll have a deeper appreciation for our National Weather Services that actually give us very precise weather predictions and forecasts. Alrighty, so thank you all for coming, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Bye everyone. Bye Chloe.